Today we're going to be building this Go Fish card game with JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. And just to kind of show you what it does here, you click the new game button, it flips over the user cards. There's a set of buttons here to ask the computer if they have a card, and then there's also a set of buttons to ask to respond to the computer when it asks if you have a card, right? There's a score for you, there's a score for the computer, there's a number of cards remaining font there that shows the number of cards remaining, and then underneath there's the sets found. So when you find sets, it logs it there. Let's get started. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of give you a walkthrough of the code and how I made it and how you can also make it, right? I'm not going to code it all out individually because it's a lot of typing, but I am going to walk you through what I built, and I'm going to link the GitHub code below so you can see exactly what I made and step by step, right? But I'm going to kind of talk you through it, through how to make it. So let's do that. First, in the description below, there's going to be all the image files and assets that you need, pictures, that you need for this card game. It's going to include all the card fronts, and that's going to be a link to a zip file where you can download those card fronts, and you may need to rename or just delete some of the extras in the face cards and the aces. There's going to be 2 of each, face cards and aces. Just delete that extra one. And then there's going to be a link to the image back, and so the back of the card. And there's going to be a link to the decks, right? So there's going to be a deck. The initial deck display is going to be like a layered kind of 5-card thing. And then when it gets to 4 cards, there's going to be a 4-card deck display, 3, 2, 1, to kind of give that illusion of taking cards off the deck. Okay, so get all those images, create an image folder, and stick all those images inside your image folder. And if you want to create the structure ahead of time, I would go ahead and do that. You have a model folder here, and I try to keep this as minimal as possible. So you have an index.html, style.css, and a model folder. Inside the model is where I put this particular model.js is where I grabbed all of the things I need from index.html. So I did not use jQuery. I just straight up grabbed everything I need inside of this model.js file. So all these classes in here, I grabbed them and put them in model.js. And this is also where I instantiate a new deck of cards from this classic deck library that I use. So I use three different libraries in here, and create a new terminal so I can type them out below. If you want to just get started with the project, right? So once you have the images, if you do like npm init-y, it'll set up your project, and then you're gonna npm install --save, and you're gonna install 3 different things to use this to make this project easy read. That's my easy read library. It's got some nicer JavaScript functions that I think are more human friendly. We're gonna have the classic deck library, which is kind of a base deck library to create a bunch of card games, the base class, which you can instantiate a deck out of, that I made the other week, and then Parcel and Parcel-Bundler. Okay, and hit enter on that. I'm not going to do that because it takes forever to save, and I've already done it, right? So you can hit enter on that and load all those 4 packages into your package.json file and project. And then go ahead and create your model folder and your model.js file. And let's look at the actual screen here for a second. See if I can bring it up. Yeah. So all the okay. So now we're in the model.js folder, and we instantiate a new deck here, and there's a bunch of classes on this deck. So if you do deck dot, you can see all the different methods. There's a deal method, which returns so many cards and strips those cards from the deck. There's a discard method, a reset, show, and shuffle deck method. Reset resets the card initially at the beginning of the game. Show, you can see the cards in the deck, and shuffle deck is self-explanatory, right? So those are the methods on that new deck you're instantiating from that deck class. And then we're grabbing like I said, a bunch of things from index.html. The only thing that's different here is this require, and what we're doing, because the way Parcel builds, we're requiring all the images from this image folder that we brought in. That's what this star is. We're grabbing all of them, and this dot dot slash is saying, hey, we need to go up a folder because we're inside of our model here. Go up a folder to this main folder here, and then go into images, and then grab all the images and store them inside of card images as an object. And then we're exporting all these things that we required down here in export. And those are things we use throughout Go Fish to create the game, right? So I'm going to try and do a quick walkthrough. I don't know if I'll hit everything, but here we go. Lots of imports at the top. I'll kind of come to them as we go. You're going to need a event listener on our new game button, right? So when you click new game, you need you need a event listener on that, and that's going to run this run game function. That's our main one, right? And then our choice buttons and our user response need event listeners. And what those are, just for visuals here, is, right, so if we start a new game, these are our choice buttons, right? All these are our choices, and without an event listener, you can't click one and expect it to do anything. You need that event listener. Okay, and let's just click it one more time. So go fish. And this is our response, user response buttons, right? And we need an event listener on those. So when you click it, it does something, right? That's the event listener. Okay, let's go back to the source code. Okay, and then another reason why I'm not coding every single thing out, besides it's just a lot of typing, is that I think it gives a little more curiosity for you to go and try and make it yourself, right? And you, of course, can see all the code in my GitHub file, which I will link down below, as I said earlier. So this run game function, when you start a new game, what do? You deal the cards. And we imported this deal cards and this set initial display in our init game.js file, right? We initialized the game, that's why I called it that. So let's head over here and see what we got. You're gonna see this user and computer. These are kind of from the model folder, and I'll just kind of show you one of them. Our user and computer have different methods and things on it, right? So it's got a hand, a user score. So this is sort of object oriented. It's getting there. It's also procedural a little bit, and it's got some update score and update cards functions. Okay, let's go back to our main here, and okay, we were in init. So deal cards, right? We want to deal the cards when we start the game. So we reset the deck, and the deck.reset from classic deck says, hey, create a new deck of 52 cards and shuffle them up. And then we can use our deal function on deck to deal 7 cards into the user's hand and the computer's hand, and again, that's here. So it stores it in this user.hand. It stores it in the variable on the user. Okay, back to here. And then once we've dealt those, we're going to set the initial display up. So deck remaining.innerHTML equals, and every time we start a new game, right, we deal out 14 cards. There's going to be 38 cards left, and this display that I'm highlighting here is it says, where it says number of cards remaining right now 37, and that changes over time, right, each time we deal a card off the deck. So that's that. And then we want to update the user's hand, right? So we don't want backs of cards. When you initialize the game, the user has backs of cards, and let's bring that up, refresh. You're gonna see backs of cards here, right? But if I click new game, it brings the front of cards, the front of the cards, the face of the cards, and brings the game to life. Excuse me, and that's what we're looking for. So that's that user.update cards. You can find that in update user display here, and we'll go through a little bit of that. Oh, you can't see it. Okay, we'll go through a little bit of this. So we want to clear the display hand, and again, that's coming from a different folder, this display util, but it's self-explanatory. Check it out in the GitHub. Clear the cards, and then for each card that's in our user.hand, so in that user array, in this hand here, for each card in that hand, we want to build an image source for the card, which is also, which is right here. This is our build source function. And we kind of go through and we get the card image that we want from our card images we exported from model. And so we build that image source, and then we append the new card to our display, and that function is also imported from this display.util here. So we set attributes on it, we create the image, set attributes, set the source, and append it to the card display. So that's that. And then down at the bottom, you'll see this get suit word function. It takes in, this is playing with strings, right? So the array is like 4s, 5h, depending on what the rank and suit are. And so we kind of dissect the ranks and suits as we go to get that initial display. I'm going to do a more broad overview, I think, here. I think I'm going too in depth. So we set the initial display. And then when you click on and ask the computer, hey, do you have any, well, whatever it is, right? So it takes in an event, and we get the ID of the event. In this case, it would be like 7, 8, 9, jacks, queens, kings, something, right? We clicked on some button that says, hey, we clicked on this button, and we need to know what it is. And we stored those in an ID in the HTML. And then we create a new computer hand based on if the card is in the computer's hand or not, right? So we say, hey, if you have any of these, if the computer has it, we want to get rid of that from the hand, and we want to give it to us because we found the card, right? We asked if they had it, they did. We changed the hand up. If the user doesn't have it, then we want to run user goes fish function, right? And this is something you could add in the user object, but I chose to do it here. And down here's the user goes fish function. They get dealt a card. Change the deck remaining function, so from if it's 36 cards left to 35 once we deal one. And then this is interesting, right? We have the choices that you can pick to select a card to see if the computer has it, right? You're asking them if they have a card. You need to remove that, and then we're going to add the other button display in, so when the computer asks us, we can respond, right? If the deck's empty, game over. And this computer message here is kind of the main message of the game. So it's like, hey, it's your turn. Hey, in this case, no 7's found, no 8's found, go fish. It just depends if it's your turn or not, right? Update computer and user cards, that updates the display for those. And set deck display checks if there's like 4 cards left, then that 5 card stack changes to 4, 3, 2, 1. If it's anything above 5, it just stays as a 5 card stack. You'll see we have like the computer goes fish function, similar. So the computer's sort of AI to an extent. We have a game over function, right? What do you do if the game's over? In this case, remove the buttons that allow you to continue playing the game. User score, depending if it's greater than, equal to, or less than, depends if you win, tie, or lose. Just kind of going more broad overview here now. So there's a process response. That's that. Yes, I have the card. No, I don't, go fish. And you there's a switch statement here with logic of if you do have the card and you're trying to cheat and say, no, I don't have it, it catches you, right? The computer catches you. But if you do, then computer goes, if the computer goes fish. Yeah. So this just processes your response to the computer. It's running the computer's turn. On a correct computer guess, so if the computer guesses a card that you have, right, what does it do? Also, the interesting thing here is these set timeout functions. It makes it so the computer feels like it's thinking, right? It's not immediate. So if it was immediate, you wouldn't even see the computer's turn happen. It would just be like split like half a second or less, and the computer would take its turn, and you wouldn't know what happened to all your cards. They'd just be mixed up and lost. So this set timeout allows the computer before it runs the computer's turn, it rests for 1.5 seconds or 1500 milliseconds. And it gives it like a feeling that the computer's thinking. So that's kind of the main function here. I'm not going to go through every single thing else. We kind of went through on a correct user guess. This is kind of the functionality of that. You're going to notice a lot of these update cards updates the display. That's why we have it built in kind of object oriented a little bit. Okay. The utilities here, I have a utilities thing because these functions are used in multiple other JS files throughout. This clear cards, append new card is used throughout, and get the rank of the card is used throughout, right? So if it takes in a letter and it returns a whole word based on the string that we need. We did initiate game, did main, set deck display we looked at. Okay, so this one was interesting. Take out sets, right? This was, I think, the toughest JS file to build. And so it decides if the user or computer has a set of 4 cards. And if it does, then it needs to take those 4 cards out of your hand. And it needs to log that, hey, we have that set of cards, so we don't keep guessing. The computer and the user don't keep guessing that set of cards. And that AI is kind of built in if you check the GitHub code for that. So yeah, to take out sets, right? This find sets function was, I think, the most unreadable thing I wrote. But if sets found, then of course get those cards out of the hand and update the displays. But yeah, finding the sets, again, this is the most unreadable thing, I think. So I kind of want to talk through this a little bit, even for my own sake. So I set a counter up here to 0, and then I pass in some unique ranks for the hand, for your hand or the computer's hand, if it's their turn. And then also the player hand, right? So the unique ranks for the hand, so maybe the player has 2s, 3s, and 4s. So the array would be 2, 3, and 4, and that's it. Now the hand is the whole hand, right? So maybe they have 2 2s, 3 3s, and 2 4s, or something like that. If unique ranks I, so if the unique rank of 2 equals the what's the card that's currently being passed through in this loop in the player hand, then add 1 to the count. So if there's a 2, add 1 to the count, and then if you encounter another 2 later in the player hand, add 1 to the count. And if there's 4 of any card in the player hand, then we want to return that specific thing because yes, there's a set. If there's not, we don't return anything really, and we set the count back to 0, and we check the next hand, and we just keep doing, or we check the next unique rank, and we do that for each unique rank in the player computer's hand until we've gone through all the sets to see if there's a set of 4 or not. I think that was the hardest bit to build there. Update computer display and update user display we kind of talked about. The styling, right? So the styling, there's a background image and no repeats on it. We just covered. And we imported 2 fonts from Google, this permanent marker font, and then there's a lobster font. And they're linked in the HTML. Nothing too unique to display here. I used Flexbox for this bit with let's show you that. Bring it up here. I used Flexbox for the score, the cards, and the computer. So instead of everything being up and down, these 3 go across. And I set the margins to automatic left and right here. Auto left, auto right. I think that's pretty much the uniqueness. Oh, the buttons. The buttons are very unique. I did write all this myself at one point, which is great. And what I'm going to link below to where you can also get these things, because initially, probably a year ago now, I made a website that has a bunch of button CSS, custom button CSS that I made. That you can copy, just click copy, and it copies it straight to your clipboard, and then you can paste it in to your CSS file and use that on your button to create really awesome buttons. And that's what I did here. I used the button site that I built a year ago to now style my buttons in this case. And all I did was I changed a couple small things. Again, check the GitHub code to see what I changed between the button styling from again, I'll link the website to these button CSS stylings in the description below. I think it's called formal, so it'll be like under formal site, and it shows a bunch of different button options. You don't have to pick the blue ones. You can pick whatever you want and just copy the code and paste it in. It'll work. Yeah, so that's the CSS. And the last thing, I guess, is this bubbles.css. I'll link the credit to Mark, and I forget his last name right now, created this. Shoot, you can't see that. There we go. Okay. So the bubbles that you were just seeing, right? So the bubbles that are floating up the page here, those were created by a guy named Mark, and I forget his last name, but I will link and credit him in the description below. He created this bubble animation effect and put it on CodePen.io. So being resourceful, I'm not going to create my own 240 line CSS animation effect. That's a level of skill in CSS, which I'm not willing to go right now. So he created this, and you can copy the code from there and put it in your own bubbles.css file, and then link that in your index.html, and you're going to have that background. Now, I had to change one or two things. I think specifically in the body, I took out the background of light blue because I didn't want a light blue background. I had my image that I imported for my CSS right here, right? This image that I linked to. So I did modify one or two things here, and you can see the difference when you copy it over to your bubbles.css and kind of change those based on what I have here. So that's it. Hope you liked the video. This was Go Fish card game. It's a quick overview. I initially tried recording the entire thing, and it was going on 2 hours plus to type it out, and I have to type all day, so I just didn't quite have the wrist power for that. So hopefully this was helpful. If it was, please subscribe, follow. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.